Hey guys, welcome back to our podcast, The Red Circle.
Dun dun dun.
Yay! I'm Vanessa Williams. This is Edward Beck.
Edward de la Beck.
De la O. So today we're going to talk about two topics, get into some interesting things about the border issues. We live on the border. We're in El Paso, Texas.
Yep.
I am very passionate about this topic.
Yes.
I stay like crazy informed.
Mm-hmm.
I have a lot of friends that are in Border Patrol, DHS, all that stuff. So
and we have friends in customs.
Yes, exactly. So I like
when you
keeping
got
up with
lost
that.
in Juarez, you called your text your
I
friend
did.
that's in the
I
customs.
did. I was terrified.
Mhm.
Selena, help!
Yeah.
And then we're also going to talk about prepping today,
Prepping.
which is something I'm also very passionate about.
Not meal prepping.
No,
Okay.
maybe.
Meal prepping so we can lose weight for the new year.
Yay! 2023.
Eat nothing but chicken and broccoli rice.
Mm-hmm.
That's what Abigail would want to eat.
Aw, she does love broccoli.
She loves the broccoli rice. She's always saying, I want broccoli rice every night for dinner.
Aww.
The little packet things.
Yeah.
I don't even know if it's rice. It's probably just plastic.
Well, it's it's riced broccoli.
Okay.
Mm.
So the border issue, how many people do you think we've had come over?
So the official number is over 5 million people.
5 million.
5 million.
dollars.
There's obviously more. That number is the people that we've caught.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't even know we were catching people.
Well, we're catching them, processing them, and letting them in.
Oh.
So people are saying the border isn't open because Biden keeps saying the border's not open. It's open. There are spots. So the border wall isn't complete in a lot of spots. The parts that it is complete, there are gates and fences that are literally open, that they're leaving open so people can get through. And then there's people climbing the fences.
Yeah.
And they're just getting them, documenting them, letting them in. So it's open.
Editor, slide pictures of proof.
Yes. There's this Instagram account called FitFam El Paso.
Okay.
Everybody. It's kind of like a gossip thing.
Like Chisme
for El Paso. And so everybody that gets video of these things, they'll tag FitFam and FitFam will put it up. So we'll put some of those things up. Literally just people running across along the border wall, there's the border freeway.
Mm-hmm.
People are going 60, 70, 80 miles an hour.
375, right? I think
Yes,
so.
exactly.
Yeah.
And these people are jumping the fence and then running across the freeway.
Mm-hmm.
And people have gotten hit. We have a friend, Erin.
Yeah.
She almost hit somebody driving the border freeway.
Somebody did die.
Yes.
They hit somebody. And
several people have.
They like their body parts and stuff.
All over
sad.
the freeway.
It's
sad. Devastating. This is horrible.
Mm-mm.
And then they're getting in. They're going into the sewers. Have you seen those videos?
Mm-hmm.
People driving at a stoplight close to Bowie High School, I think. There's like a 4-way stoplight. In the middle, there's a manhole. The manhole opens and humans pop out.
Well, they're like Ninja Turtles.
Yes. It's crazy. They're just like coming out of everywhere.
I have a funny story about the tunnels.
Okay.
I have two stories. One is when I was in high school, there's this tunnel behind Tony Lama's off of Mesa, right?
All right.
This big. So El Paso's kind of crazy. What we do for flooding is we dig big holes, and then we put piping, right? This is our solution for flooding.
And it doesn't work. We flood like every other year.
Yeah. So, and it's like you have to have these holes every so often around residential, commercial areas, right? When you're developing, you have to dig these big holes where water can run off into. And they have tunnels in there. And what we did was we would go and see how far we could go into this tunnel without being scared, right?
Oh.
And then we got this bright idea to invite the whole school, the whole high school. Yeah, we go there and everybody's there and they're like girls in flip-flops and it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad, yeah. And then I kind of embarrassed, but it's funny.
Okay.
We come up with the idea to send two of our friends ahead of time into the tunnel
to scare everybody.
And then they because we used to play this game called Amp Guard.
Okay.
You ever heard of Amp Guard?
No.
So Amp Guard, editor, show another video. Amp Guard. Amp Guard is kind of where you would get, like pieces of wood and wrap it in foam, or like PVC pipes and wrap it in foam, and then you would dress like a knight and you'd have sword fights.
Yeah. That's called LARPing.
Yeah, but I guess before that it was called Amp Guard.
Okay.
And there's like rules, and you just go out to a park and you just like beat each other up. You're like, my arm's dead, and then you start fighting with the other arm. Yeah, right. And so they had these capes already, right? And then they took in like a stereo with some like creepy music from something, and so they were in there. And then we would be walking, and then you'd hear the music, and be like, "Shh, everybody, quiet."
What is that?
And then they would stop playing the music, and we're like, "Oh, it's nothing. Keep going." And
was everybody afraid?
Yeah. And everybody's freaking out, especially because there's girls and stuff.
Oh.
And then at the end, there's like, our two friends are there, and then they meet them, and then they go, "What are you doing in here?" or whatever. And then everybody runs out, and then me and like 2 other guys or 3 other guys are like in on it, right? We're like, "Oh my God." And we're running out, right? And these people are like running into their, they're trying to run up the hill, and they're like losing their shoes and all this stuff, right?
That's fun.
And then the guys like come out of the tunnel, and then I'm like, I'm gonna beat them up, right? So then me and the other guy were like, we're gonna go fight them.
Oh my God.
And then we walk up to him, and it was kind of like that moment in Braveheart where you're there like shake hands and like, "Hey, what's up, buddy?" And then
we did it.
Everybody hated us for like a month at school, but it was so great. It was so worth it.
That's pretty epic.
It was so worth it.
That's fun.
And so, but these tunnels go on forever.
Yeah.
And then another thing, the other story is I bought a house on Los Angeles and Yandel.
Okay.
It kind of looks like an Alamo. It was like a 8-bedroom mansion.
Oh, wow.
Right? And in the basement, there was the lady that bought it. She inherited it from like her great-grandparents and her grandparents. This house had been in the family for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
The house was kind of dilapidated. Mm-hmm. And she was selling it to us, so we got it under contract, and she had documentation that General Lee Scott and Pancho Villa had signed a treaty in that house.
Wow.
And that General Lee Scott would transport weapons underneath in the tunnels of the house to Pancho Villa in Mexico.
Yes.
And so it was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
And so there's tunnels all in El Paso.
There are. They're everywhere.
Everywhere.
There was. Did you hear about it was.
Somebody has a map of it.
The train. But it was for Asian people.
Oh, I don't know.
There was
they found trains in different cities, like border cities, like ours.
No.
And they would traffic drugs.
Oh.
Like a little train, and they would just pack the drugs and then
just go
underneath. Why not?
No, there's this. So with
they're doing submarines.
Slaveries, with slavery, you know how they were taking people, the underground train, underground railroad. Thank you. Yeah. There was an underground railroad.
I don't think it was.
I don't think so.
It's like subways in the 30s.
Exactly, and they're still there. We don't know. And then there's lizard people. We'll get back to that one. So there's the underground railroad, but I think they were transporting. It was like, which war was it that Asian people, like Oriental people, were getting treated poorly? Was it
World War II? Yeah. They put them in concentration camps.
Concentration camps. Yes. Mm-hmm. I think
they built our railroads. Actually,
they did. Yeah.
The slaves, the Asian slaves, they built our railroads.
Yeah, it was most all on their backs. Yeah.
It wasn't mostly Africans or even Irish. It was mostly Asians.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. 100%.
Like if you see the movie with Jackie Chan was Shanghai Noon, you can kind of see it
a little. Yeah.
You can kind of see it.
Yeah. So there was a underground railroad, and I think they were helping the Asian people, the
Oh,
Oriental
really?
people get out and not go to concentration camps.
Wow.
And there's a laundromat. I don't know, laundromat.
Is
People
it
get
Landro?
yes.
I always say
I
laundry.
know, and
Is
it
that
sounds
wrong?
it is wrong, but that's how I say it. I want to say laundromat, so you guys know that I know it's the right way to say it, but I choose to say laundromat. There's a laundromat down, like in Central, that was the spot where they would transport people.
Really?
It's really cool history stuff. I need to look it up and like know more about
That's
it.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, El Paso has a lot of history.
Yeah, so much. So, and then Pancho Villa, my grandma, she used to work at a hardware store in El Paso. She was in charge of it. She was like the GM. And that hardware store sold weapons to Pancho Villa.
What?
So she was like in charge of like all that.
Oh,
So
wow.
that's interesting.
Yeah, Pancho Villa, and there's no joke. Like, because America and Mexico was kind of at war because Mexico was kind of like semi-controlled by Spain, and we had a bunch of wars. You know, the Mexican-American War and stuff like that. So most people don't know anything about these wars.
Yeah.
They just know World War One.
Yeah.
You know, Civil War,
Yeah.
World War Two.
The big
you know,
ones.
like they know like the Korean War in Vietnam, and that's all they know. You know, they don't know about the War of 1812, and they don't know. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's there. I went downtown and I did a volunteering thing with my church, and we brought them blankets, clothing, socks, shirts, jackets for the people, the migrants. That I don't even know if you. I guess you'd call them migrants, but they were there, and the streets were full.
Yeah,
it was like 5 blocks of streets of people.
Yeah.
And they were like as big as like a say a full size bed, and they were just because there was so many blankets. Like they had so many blankets. There was on the corner of the street, and the blankets were as tall as me. Just stacks of blankets and clothes
right
and
now,
whatever.
so
Yeah.
it's so cold.
Yeah, and we went the 2 days before Christmas, and it was like the freezing cold night. And we went out there. Now they were in different areas. They weren't all in that one area. And so I talked to some of these people, and we were handing out stuff, and then some of them were very angry. And I was talking to a guy. He was from Colombia. And he was very angry. I can see his face. And he was wearing like 10 pairs of socks and with like slip-on shoes. Like, not shoes, slip-on like chanclas. But like, you know those ones that are, I forget what they call them, where it's just like
Slides.
this, slides. And I was like, dude, I asked him, I said, where's your shoes? And he's like, he says, we don't have shoes. And I was like, that's strange, right? And he's like, we need shoes. And I was like, shoes are hard because you have to get everybody's size. Like, where are you gonna go? You know? And so they were like there, and then the El Paso people are very gracious. I saw people that just pull up and hand out food. There was a guy there that they say that every night he comes and he gives hot coffee and cocoa for the people. He just like popped a trunk, and he has like a little heating element, and he has a big pot, you know, and he's just handing out cups of coffee and stuff. But I was asking the guy, I was like, why are you so upset? Like, and he says, well, in my country, they run commercials. They were running commercials.
Everybody listen to this. This is very important.
Yeah.
This is true and not a conspiracy.
He says they were running commercials in his country that if they could get to America before this date, that, you know, that they would be, you know, taken care of. They would be given shelter. They would be given housing. They would be given a car. They would give an allowance. That all their things would be taken care of.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And I was like...
Did he tell you the date? Do you remember?
It was the day before what's that thing that had to pass that it got shut down?
Proposition 42 or whatever it's called?
Proposition 42.
Yeah.
So it was the day before that thing was going to get overturned.
Oh, okay.
So that's why there was like the big mad rush.
It was crazy.
Yeah. And so they were just there. Now they were there. Everybody that was on the street was here illegally. The people that were allowed into the shelters, and they opened up some of the schools and stuff like that for them, because they're like the different school districts have been like building new schools, and then the old schools are just sitting there empty. So they were allowing them to go into the schools.
Even schools that are populated with kids. Like,
Oh, really?
yeah, my cousin's daughter's middle school. They went back to school this week. So they
And they're
had to,
there with the
they
migrants?
had to clear them out.
Oh, okay. I
It
was
was
like,
just
dang,
like,
that's not
no,
safe.
hell no.
Yeah.
Not safe.
Mm. So the two things is like, and he's like, and we're not given any of these things. So they're expecting these things.
Yes, because they're being told. And who's making those commercials? Who's paying for those commercials?
I don't know. You know what I
Yes,
mean? I
yes.
don't know. And then they were like, I like our friend Selena. We were talking to her, and she's like, "Yeah, we try and give them pizza, and we give them chicken, and they don't want to eat it."
Mm-mm.
And I'm like, "What do you mean they don't want to eat it?" You're like, "No, they don't want to eat it.
Yes.
They want like fancy food or something."
Mm-hmm.
Like I guess it's kind of like, what do they say? The grass is greener on the other side. You know what I mean? And maybe in their country they were kind of well to do, and that's how they were able to afford to get all the way up here.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they probably gave away or sold everything just to get here.
Mm-hmm.
And then they get here and they don't understand that we have poor people too.
Well,
you know, we have people who live on the streets too, and we don't have I don't know. It's crazy when you really think about it.
yes. So as Americans, we're being told on the news that it's people from war-torn countries, that it's mothers and children looking for a better life, that they're desperate and they need all of this help, and we have to let them in the country. And some of them, there is some of that.
Mm-hmm.
But on the other side, so that's what we're being told. But the reality of it, and this has been a conspiracy, but it isn't, because like you just met a guy, and I've talked to other like border patrol people and all that have said like no, like the UN is helping them come up here. They're gathering people. They're misleading people. They're telling them that America is going to let you in, and we have a car, we have phone, we have this, we have that. They're being told this. Who's telling them this? Who's doing it? A lot of people are saying it's George Soros. I don't know who it is. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. But that's what they're being told. And then they come here with whatever's on their back. And it's a trek, and it's not just South Central America. It's the whole planet. There was in the summer of last year, a group from Africa, and a bunch of Haitians, and a bunch of different, it's the whole planet. They're being told, come now. Who's telling them that?
I don't know.
Then they come here and they're expecting stuff, and then they're upset when they only get pizza and chicken. I have a friend who is a emergency nurse, and her husband's border patrol, and they have to get in full garb whenever they're working on the people. This was pre-COVID, because there's lice, there's skin diseases, there's all kinds of things. She's brought lice home so many times, even in the full garb, helping these people.
Wow.
Because there's always issues on the border, you know. Then they'll give them sandwiches, and they're like, we want hot meals. We were told we we're going to get hot meals. And she's like, well, all we have is sandwiches. Like, I'm sorry.
Yeah, like Subway or something like that.
Yeah, that's all they have. Like, and they're upset and entitled, but it makes sense why they feel entitled, because they're being told that.
Yeah.
But nobody's talking about any of this.
Yeah, because they might have had a better life. They weren't living on the street, probably in Colombia or wherever they're from. Like, I met a guy from Colombia. And that was the other thing. I only saw 2 girls out of maybe 1,000 people.
Thank you. Continue.
Yeah, I only saw 2 girls. One girl, and it broke my heart. She was walking with, so it was a girl and her daughter. And her daughter, and she came out of an alleyway in like a really bad area of town. And the girl came out, and it was like freezing cold. And she was wearing just leggings like you're wearing. And with socks on.
No shoes.
No shoes, and like a light sweater, and it was freezing outside. And I was like,
yeah, that week the temperatures got in like the 20s.
yeah.
Like it was cold.
Yeah, and that's cold for El Paso.
It's
and it's a
very
dry
cold.
cold.
Yes.
It's a dry cold. It's very cold. And so I had bought me and my wife, we bought sleeping bags. So, and I kept them like in my trunk. It was like for certain people. So I went and I got like the really nice sleeping bag and I gave it to her. You know, it was like 30 and below sleeping bag or something like that.
Rated for cold. Good.
And then I saw one other girl at the normal, like the big place downtown where most of them were at. And she was like a, I don't know, 50-year-old lady, real stocky lady. And she was like, she went to so we had a truck of all the donations of clothing that the church gave. And she's like, she like was demanding a coat. She's like, I want a coat. And we were trying to find her size. You know what I mean? It was hard to find her size. And we're just like digging through clothes trying to find her size. Yeah. And she was very demanding for her coat. And everybody wanted shoes. Nobody had any shoes. I don't know what they're doing with their shoes. Like,
yeah. Because they're walking up-ish. So where are their shoes?
Yeah, I don't understand. I don't understand. You know what I mean? And I didn't meet one Mexican. Okay, there was not one Mexican. I didn't meet one Mexican person. Everybody was from South America. You know, I didn't meet anybody from Mexico. Like the Mexican people, they know how to get here already. You know what I mean? And they, like, and I think it's easier for Mexican people to get here on a visitor visa or a worker visa or a green card or whatever. It's easier for them more than other people. But the border issue has, and then we look at border issues very different. Like, I know personally, pretty much my whole life, I've known illegal people. I went to school with illegal kids that were in the country illegally. Like, like
they were in the country illegally. Their family would like live in Mexico, and whoever they're living with here, they're sending money back. Like it's just a part of
our
culture. Yeah. I've always known illegal people.
I've never been like if you meet somebody illegal, like, oh my God, let me call the police right now.
No,
like,
La Migra.
Yeah. No. So the La Migra is like when the border patrol show up and like arrest people and take them back to the country. Yeah. That's what they yell.
La Migra.
Yeah. So it's funny.
Yeah.
But we have, like I've seen, my family lives, I have a lot of family that lives in Juarez. You know what I mean? I used to go and visit Juarez a lot when I was a kid. We used to go over there and do all kinds of stuff. We go shopping, you know, the food was cheaper.
Oh, yeah. Everything.
Candy was cheaper. Stuff was
medicine.
cheaper.
You could get ivermectin.
Everybody gets medicine from
Everybody. Mexico. You could get plastic surgery, dental work. We got, when COVID was happening and ivermectin wasn't allowed because it's a horse medication. Such BS. We got ivermectin in Mexico.
Oh, who went?
Our neighbor. He like he has a house in the U.S. and in Mexico.
Okay.
Because it's dangerous. So they mainly live here.
We don't know. Like I know people that go to Juarez all the time. Literally, Pastor Brown told me he's going to Juarez today.
Yeah.
To do some medical thing.
Yeah.
It's just common practice.
Yeah. It is. We call Juarez our sister city.
Yeah, and that's the thing that people don't understand. Like if I show you a map of El Paso, right? This is a horrible map, right? And then say the Rio Grande goes like this, right? And then you have Mexico here, like, and this road right here is called the Border Freeway, and it's literally the road, like a sidewalk easement. The fence, the river, and then houses in Mexico. Yeah. It's like you could throw a rock and hit a house in Mexico.
Yes. You're driving down I-10 near UTEP and you're seeing Mexico. Yeah. Mexico is a part of our everything.
Yeah. Mexico has, Juarez has like, I don't know, 2-3 million people in it. It's a huge city. El Paso's like, I don't know, 700,000-800,000 people.
It's definitely more. But
yeah, if you don't count the illegals.
The illegals.
Yeah. Because we probably have, you know, I don't know today, but historically, like another 200,000,
Oh yeah,
300,000
for sure. And then
people
even
living in
kids
Paso.
will walk the border and go to school.
Yeah.
Like when school starts,
What's that school down there? Is it Irving? No, it's not Irving. What is it? The
there's
one.
Bowie.
Yeah, it's Bowie.
My mom went to Bowie.
La Bowie.
She was a Bowie bear. She lived in Segundo Barrio.
People love Bowie.
Yeah.
I don't get the Bowie pride.
I don't know.
Like
they have it.
I went to school and I don't have like that kind of
My
pride.
dad went to Coronado and he doesn't have that.
But Bowie people, that's serious.
Yeah.
Like they have the annual what are they called, the like 10-year
Reunions.
reunions, and people are serious about it. They dress up, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh my god, I gotta bring
Bowie
you
bears.
show all the people that I know. Like my mom went to Isleta,
okay,
which is like in the valley.
Yeah.
You know, and she like my family grew up here. Like I have a lot of
yeah, and like, and I think when we talk about border issues, a lot of times people are like, oh, you don't have compassion for others. What would Jesus do? You know what I mean? But we need to understand what's really happening. Because literally once they get to the border, when they're trekking from wherever they're going, they get up to the border, they ditch everything. Yeah. They throw their paperwork away. They throw their IDs away, their birth certificates, and the crossings. There's just garbage everywhere, and it's all documentation. Or big fires with half of an ID burned. They're ditching all of their documentation, and the reason they're doing that is because the cartels tell them it's easier to get in if they don't know who you are. Because they have to vet everybody to see if you're safe, and if they can't vet you, you could say you're whoever. It's faster and easier. So you don't have any identification, ditch it, come in a nobody. And
this is John Doe.
Yeah, you're a John Doe, a Jane Doe, and a huge percentage of them are men, military-aged men. Yep. And this part really makes me sad. A lot of people that get over, not a lot right now because there's just a huge flood, but normally you don't get in unless the cartel helps you. Yeah. And when I say the cartel helps you, I mean all these people coming through are in the cartel's territory. So you
cannot pass through it.
You cannot pass through it.
You got to, what they call it in El Paso, you got to pay your quota.
Yes.
You got to pay your, what do they call it in the mafia? They call it like when they're working a store and the store is under their protection.
Yes, I forget.
You got to pay like the protection money.
Yes, exactly. So to get through, you have to pay them money with your body, being a mule.
Yeah, taking drugs
over, or once you're over, you have to work for them, and you're driving vehicles with drugs or people. You don't have freedom. You don't come here and you're your own person. You are in the cartel's territory. You're in their hands. So women are raped, children are raped. So you pay with your body, and then women pay with their babies. Unknowingly, they'll put women in trucks. And my mom, we volunteered years helping people down like with all of this stuff. And there was this one story this woman was telling my mom. It was men, women, children. This was in the 90s. They got everybody into trucks. They had separate semi trucks. And they were like, all the men in one truck, all the women in one truck, all the children in one truck. And this woman was like, no, I have my babies, I have to stay with them. And they're like, you're not in charge, get in your freaking truck now. She got in her truck.
Never saw her again.
Dropped them off in San Antonio, Texas. Never saw her children again. Yeah. That is
We've heard that story 100 times.
Yeah. Yeah, this is what happens. They steal children.
Yeah, all the kids that are in that ring of like Epstein type stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, you think the cartel people
sex
care?
Trafficking. No.
The cartel people, they don't care.
And then with sex trafficking, it's different than drugs because you make a product, you sell the product's done. With sex trafficking,
yeah, you're like a slave.
You can pimp them out 10 times a day until they reach an age limit where your customer doesn't want them anymore. So when you're encouraging people to come up illegally, you're putting them in the cartel's hands.
And you're making money for the cartel.
And you're making money. The cartel has a lot of power. Now, especially now, all over the border, they have billions. For sure, billions of dollars.
What's that movie, Sicario? Yeah, it's about the cartel, and the guy goes back and he like gets revenge on them or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Or like the newest Rambo.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of how the
It
things are
is.
run.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've been watching since yesterday. The cartels are ramping up. There was, I'll have to find it. Let's see if I can find it. There was a shootout, not here, but somewhere else where,
Oh, that one you sent me.
yes. Where was that? They were shooting at airplanes. The cartel was shooting at airplanes in Mexico.
That's
And then there
crazy.
was a shooting on the border, cartel shooting into the U.S. I
Oh.
think at Border Patrol agents. So our president is not strong. He's opening up the borders on purpose and making America weak. I want immigrants to come in. You want people to come in and make America better. But you have to do it the right way. You have to go through the paperwork process. You have to do the time. And when you don't do that, you put yourself in danger.
I know you sent this to me, but I don't see it.
And then like these people that are here now, they have no housing, they have no shoes, they are not allowed to work.
Yeah, they can't work.
They can't work because you have to have a work visa. You have to do this process to even be able to work. So what are they going to do? They're just here doing what?
Yeah.
And they're not thriving. They're pawns.
Yeah, they cleaned up the streets the last couple days.
Yes, because it smelled like piss and shit. Because there's not enough for everybody out there. They got them all off the streets because the president's coming on Sunday.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the only reason.
Yeah, they took them off the streets and they sent them back.
Ooh.
So from what I
Some
understand,
of them to Mexico?
Yeah, they sent them back.
Because the people on the streets were illegal. Especially Venezuelans. There was a lot of talk of the shelters not even allowing the Venezuelans in.
The interesting thing is when you're seeking asylum. Now, I had this from our friend that works in customs. When you're seeking asylum, the idea of asylum is that your country is trying to kill you, like in Edward Snowden, or like the people that jumped on the plane from Afghanistan.
Yeah.
Those are people that can seek asylum.
In danger. There's specific requirements to be able to seek asylum.
Yes. And so people that are just escaping poverty or whatever, or they want a better life or whatever, they're not in that asylum thing.
No.
So they can seek it and then they'll process them. But they don't have a legal status.
No.
And because there's so many of them, they'll send them through the process and then they'll just release them.
Yes.
They don't send them back.
They release them and they say, come back for your court date in 2 years or whatever.
Yeah, because they don't have enough people to handle it all.
No, not enough judges, not enough anything.
It's kind of crazy when you think about it. It really is very crazy. And, there's a big difference, too, between people from Mexico and people from Colombia and people from, Venezuela. Not saying that we don't like people from Colombia or people from Venezuela, but Mexico is very different than these other countries.
Yes. Oh,
especially
100%.
people that most Mexicans have a understanding of American culture. They understand how to deal in America. They've been here. You know what I mean? Yeah. They come visit or whatever. We like Mexico's like El Paso's very much like Mexico. You know what I mean?
El Paso's way different than the rest of Texas.
If you go to El Paso, you will be like, this does not feel like Texas.
This is not Texas.
This does not feel like Texas. This is the Southwest. We have 70% Hispanic in El Paso, our demographics, and like I guess there's a lot of Mexican Americans in El Paso, like a lot, and then the Mexican people don't like the people that are coming from South America.
No,
they protest.
Well, and there's reasons because they broke through their border, the Mexican border. Did you see all those videos? Violently broke through the border fences that they have. It's just like chain link fence. Violently throwing rocks, throwing glass bottles, just mob of people violently breaking through that border.
Jeez.
Yes. And trekking up to the US and leaving trash, stealing,
Mm.
everything that they're doing to survive, walking all the way up to the US.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't want them there either because they broke into their country and
Mm.
they're disrespecting their people and their land.
Mm.
That's not right.
Mm-hmm.
And then they close up the gate again, and then another mob of people come through and violently open that gate.
Mm-hmm.
It's not good.
Yeah, yeah. I think if I ruled the world, right?
Mhm.
What's that song? If I ruled the world, is that
I don't know who that
what's
is.
her name? Hill from Fugees.
Oh.
I think it is Lauryn Hill.
Yeah.
I like Lauryn Hill. What I would do is I would make it easier to become a legal citizen.
Mm-hmm.
Very easy. It's very hard. So there's also
time consuming,
there's
expensive.
also that side. If there's people that are trying to come over legally,
Mm-hmm.
and then people are just coming over illegally,
What's the point of doing it
doesn't
legal?
it's not fair for the people that are trying
No.
to come legally.
No,
and
it takes years.
It's very, very difficult to
Mhm.
get here, even to become a resident or have a working visa or just a visitor's visa.
Mm-hmm.
It's very difficult.
Mm-hmm.
You got all this crappy paperwork, you know. And the other thing that's interesting too is like they send them into the citizenship, and people are very proud when they get their citizenship.
are.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I have a friend that just got hers, and
Yeah.
she passed the test.
Mhm.
She did all the things, and she's so proud of herself.
Yeah, they like sing the national anthem, and they they do these different things,
Yes.
and they have to like tell us what these things are about Americanizing,
Mhm.
right? And America has a culture,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And I know it's not popular opinion,
Yeah.
but we have a culture, we have a history, we have a heritage, you know, and even though it's not racial, you know, the American culture is not a race.
Mm-hmm.
It's striving after, you know, a country that is built on biblical principles with sovereign citizens that have the ability to vote or vote out a government that represents them.
Yes.
Right? It's a representative government. It's not a democracy. It's not mob rule. It's a constitutional republic. That's the way that our country is built.
Yes.
And maybe one day we'll talk about, you know, the Constitution and all that stuff, because it's important to understand why America is so unique. You know, why it is a beacon of hope for the rest of the world.
Yeah.
So, so they come over and they get all excited and stuff like that. But I think that's what I would do is I would make it easier. I would take the ability out of the hands of the coyotes, which is a coyote.
The coyotes, yes. They're the cartel people that help people get into the U.S.
They know all the routes and you know what I mean? And then I would also take it out of the hands of the cartel and make it simple. You know, make it, okay, here, you come here. You pass a background check from your country and other countries. And then now you come here, now you're a citizen, you pay taxes, you can get a job, you can do this thing. You become a benefit to the country and a benefit to yourself.
To yourself.
You don't want to sit around and just earn a paycheck, like, especially like 20-year-old guys, which is 90% of what I saw.
Yes. People don't believe that. I tell people it's military-aged men. It's like young men.
Yeah, they're all young men because, like, if you're a girl, do you really want to take this trip all the way from Venezuela?
So people that take that trip, women specifically, they know that they're going to be brutalized.
Yeah.
They know that they will be raped many, many, many times on the trek up. This is just what it is. And so when they're getting ready for the trek up, they will go to the pharmacy and they will get antibiotics and they'll get Plan B and they will get all kinds of medication to try to protect themselves as much as they can because they know that they will be brutalized.
Jeez.
Period. Facts.
Yeah.
And I've told people this, like one of my cousins, she's like, that's not true.
Oh, it's so true.
That's not true. That's not a thing.
Go talk to a
Googled it. I didn't find it on Google. Yeah, Google doesn't want you to find this information.
Yeah, go talk to a Border Patrol agent.
Yes. Go volunteer.
Yeah.
She lives close to the border in California. Go volunteer.
Yeah.
Volunteer and see what you see.
Yeah,
and you
I'm
will
sure
see what we're
Tijuana has
talking
the
about.
same issues.
It does.
You know,
It
it's
totally
probably
does.
not as bad as it is here.
And then with asylum, the way that the world's rules work with asylum, is that when you're seeking asylum, you don't just pick and choose which country you want to go to. If you're really truly seeking asylum, you seek asylum in the nearest country that you can get assistance. So in the beginning of when Biden was elected and everybody started coming up, Mexico was like, we'll just grant everybody asylum because they were just getting broken into and people were going up and it was terrible for the Mexican people. And
there was protests.
Yeah, tons.
There was tons of protests. And I knew a lady that she would go over there and she riled them up and she had a Facebook page. She always kept getting kicked out of Facebook.
Yeah.
For doing a protest in Mexico. I don't understand that. That doesn't make sense. Like, why would Zuckerberg care?
Because they want... So, well, anyways, Mexico told everybody that they could have asylum and they said no. And they kept going to the U.S. That's not a part of the rules. That's not allowed. You don't get to pick which country you get asylum in. That's not how it works. So the whole process of all of this is illegal. And the UN has camps for people and they have booklets and they have maps and they have cars and trucks and buses. So they're not walking the whole way.
Yeah, they bust most of them.
They bust them in.
Yeah, that's what they said. The guys were telling me they bust them up here.
Yes.
You know, and I'm
so
like... So
who's paying for this? Why are they doing this?
Yeah.
And I think what they're doing is they're trying to flood the country with new citizens to get votes.
Wow.
So in 2 more years before the election, they're trying to bus people into red states. Okay? They're busing people into red states. They're going to try to... Is the word not emancipate? When they give everybody, like, citizenship.
Yeah. I know what you're talking
There's a word.
Drop it in the comments.
Yes, it's a word. They're going to give everybody citizenship before the next election. And then they're going to say, hey, we got you in.
Is it patriotize?
Vote for us. That's what they're doing. That's my opinion. Who's paying for those ads?
Yeah, that's crazy. It seems so crazy to me. It's just the whole thing is
it doesn't make
upside
sense.
down. Now, I know that America's best thing that we have going for us is that we have a strong millennial age demographic. Most countries do not have a millennial age demographic enough sizable enough to
maintain
let
the holders,
the baby boomers retire and to sustain the economy.
Yeah.
Only 2 countries do, America and Australia. Yeah, it's fascinating.
That's
stuff.
Very interesting. Yeah.
So we want immigration because I think you need 2.2 or 2.3 children per household to be able to sustain a demographic, just to sustain it, right? Because, people die and things happen.
Yeah.
And, but America, we have like 1.7% children per household. So there's going to be a huge need.
Yes.
And that's where that difference comes from, is from immigration.
I never thought of it.
And that's why America's somewhat sustained, because we have immigration. Now, everybody that I've met that came from, different countries are not like, they don't have that, like normal immigrants, normal people that are illegally here. You don't see this sense of entitlement from them. And it's funny because we always talk about why they do so well in the States. And it's because they don't have this sense of entitlement. But these new guys that I've talked to, they all kind of had this sense of entitlement, which was very strange. It's very new. It's very unique in our time in talking with people. Because, in Mexico, like, the government doesn't do crap for you. You know what I mean? Like,
no.
No,
and like the police, some of them are good guys, a lot of them are bad guys. They'll pull you over and you got to pay them money.
In Mexico, yeah.
In Mexico, yeah. It's not the government, like, and the cartel's in charge. And
the cartel runs Mexico.
Yeah, 1,000,000%.
Yeah. And when we would go party in Juarez, what you always did is you would always keep $20 in your wallet, and then you'd put the rest of the money in your sock.
Yes.
So when you got pulled over or some cop messed with you, you would just give him $20 and then he'd go away.
And he'd let you go. Yeah.
Like no matter what you were doing.
We were in such danger going over there.
Yeah. And it's because you could go over there and drink at any age.
Yeah, they didn't card you.
Yeah, they had a place called Tequila Derby. Did you ever go to Tequila Derby?
Dirty Derby?
Yes. Dirty Derby.
That's what we called it.
And it was like, I don't know, like $10 drink and drown or something like that. And you would just like pay $10 and you to get it, and you get unlimited drinks.
Yeah, the whole night.
I don't even know how that made sense.
It was all watered down.
Yeah, it probably was.
Real.
It was like we drink Sol.
Yes.
Right? You remember Sol? And then like these crappy tequila shots.
We would get behind the bar and I would make drinks. And I only knew how to make Blue Hawaiians. So they'd order something. If it wasn't a beer, I would just make a Blue Hawaiian. There you go. There you go. There you go. And then I'd try to get everybody to do body shots. I'm like, you, body shots? And the boys were like, yes. Uh-oh.
That's fun.
We had a lot of fun in Mexico.
Yeah. And it was, I remember the last time I really started, I was like, I'm not going to go back to Mexico, to Juarez.
Tell us.
I went to this club called Les Finque.
Yes.
Remember this? It's a huge club.
Yeah.
It was like a warehouse club. I don't even know. It was this mansion, big place.
Yeah. On the strip.
And I went there and we were partying or whatever. And then somebody got shot outside.
Oh, shit.
And that was kind of when it first started happening. So we got in our cars and we like took off. Everybody ran.
You guys drove over?
Yeah, because you couldn't walk to Les Finque. It was too far.
Oh.
It was too far. So there's certain places like that you would have to drive to. And as you got more comfortable in Mexico, like when you first started, you would just park at the free bridge and then you'd walk over.
Yes.
And then you'd get sober on the way back, right?
Oh,
because you're walking over the bridge, you know, and you find like two guys peeing, you know.
Girls puking and crying.
Yeah. Yes, it was pretty bad.
It was pretty gross.
It was pretty bad.
Yeah.
Like people would get so wasted over there.
So I had 2 incidents where we were in, I forget which club, and we were underage, and there was not very many people. It was like me, my friends, and then like 2 other people. There's not a lot of people. And the bouncer comes up, and we know him, and he's like, the cops are gonna raid us. You guys need to go to the back. And he herds me and my 3 friends, girls, to a back room. And I'm like, oh my God, we're in danger. Like we don't know if cops are really gonna do that. Yeah. I don't know if they're gonna hurt us. Like, what are we thinking? Our parents think we're bowling, you know, because we were 16.
Oh no.
Yeah, it was bad.
That was pretty bad.
And so, then the other bartender, he had he always had his abs out, and he had a sun tattooed around his belly button. I don't remember his name, but I remember that. He was so weird. And so he came in, and he was like, you guys got to go out the back door. And we're like, okay. And they're rushing us out the back door. And there's a crowd of people, so we kind of just get in the crowd. And we're getting herded towards this line of men. But I couldn't really tell. I just could see their heads. And once we got too close to them, they all had guns the size of my sister. And they all had ski masks. You could only see their eyes. And it was like 6 of them in a row. And I was like, you don't know if it's cops. You don't know if it's cartel. You don't know what's happening. And so I'm like looking for my sister. And I grab her and I just start praying. Like, we're doing bad things and we're dumb. Why are we doing this? And I kind of like turn around, and then there's cameras in her face. It was like the news. I don't know what was happening, but I was like, my grandma's going to see this on the news. They're going to tell my mom. And we run back. And then I was like, we're not coming back. This is too dangerous. And then that next weekend, we got a text. It was like a mass text. And it said, be careful because there's going to be a shooting on the strip this weekend. And I was like, okay, those 2 things, I'm done. I'm done.
Yeah. I was older because I didn't drink until I was like 20.
Okay.
And I did that in college.
Yeah.
And then when I came back and I was waiting tables, the guys that I was waiting tables with, they were like, hey, we're gonna go to. They were talking about going to Juarez, and I was like,
all right.
I was like, can I go with you guys? You know, and they're like, no, you're too old. They tell me. And I was like, I'm not too old. And they're like, why don't you just go to a regular bar? It's like, I'm still 20. I'm not old enough. So they were like, really? We don't believe you. And everybody always thinks I'm older than I am, right?
Is it because
you're
tall?
And I had to grab my wallet and then show my ID, and they were like,
swear, guys.
"It's not fake, is it?" It's like, why would I fake being younger? So then that's how I started going to Juarez. But I
That's
was
so
already
funny.
20.
Yeah, we were done. I was 16, 17, 18.
Mm-hmm.
And then I don't even in college really party because I had done it.
Mm-hmm.
I was over it.
Yeah. So, but I know people that would go in like high school. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that
Like,
was us.
Yeah. I think my wife went in high school.
Yeah.
Sus, yeah.
Very dangerous.
Mm.
Very dangerous.
Yeah.
And we love immigration. We love people. We want
Mhm.
people to thrive. You can't thrive when you're illegal. That's the main thing. It's not compassion to be illegal. You can't get a job. You can't get housing. You can't thrive.
Yeah.
You can't work hard and do awesome things. You're just sitting there scared that you're going to get deported the whole time.
So, yeah, you know, we have a different viewpoint of the border and the border freeway and everything. The border wall, like people think the wall was started by Trump.
There's been a wall.
Yeah, it's been there since Clinton. Clinton
Yes.
started the wall.
Yes. But it was important for them to start the wall. When people pretend that a wall doesn't work, it's bonkers. It's the strangest thing. So what happened in El Paso before, in the 90s, there was no wall. There was nothing. There was no fence, nothing.
Mm-hmm.
People from Mexico would come over, especially the west side.
Mm-hmm.
They would steal stuff.
Mm-hmm.
If you get your car stolen,
Mm-hmm.
you know it's in Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
They take trucks, they take SUVs. That's the things that get stolen here. So it was bad. Cars are getting stolen, houses are getting broken into, and so literally what the Border Patrol had to do, they made a wall of men. They lined up the Border Patrol trucks and the humans to stop people from coming through.
Mm-hmm.
That stopped some of all that's happening, but that's not feasible. You can't have a wall of truck and men. How does that make sense?
That sounds crazy.
That does not make any sense.
Yeah,
and so then they started.
Not enough men.
No. Why would you do that? That's weird.
And then those guys are making good money. Border Patrol people make good money.
They do, and they deserve it.
Yeah. They deal with a lot of crap.
Yeah, too much crap. Their own government doesn't respect them.
Mm-hmm.
Their lives, they don't value them.
Mm-hmm.
At least right now under Biden. They're in danger every day.
Yeah. And they find bodies everywhere.
Mm-hmm. They're getting shot at right now.
Yeah. Like they think that they're like evil people from the other country. It's like
it's fellow Hispanics.
Mm-hmm.
Like like what are you talking about?
90% of the Border Patrol agents are Hispanic, like our friend Selena. Mm-hmm. She's Hispanic. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
All my Border Patrol friends are Hispanic.
And you have to speak Spanish to be like work at the Border Patrol.
Yes.
You can't just be like some güero.
You can't be a coconut like me.
No. You have a hard time.
Yeah. I'd be like, excuse me?
No habla español.
I'm like, hold on, let me have my phone translate that, please. Yeah. No. So that's what they had to do. And then they put up a fence, and then they've built more walls. And the technology that they have on the walls, they can sense heat, they can sense movement, they can sense all kinds of stuff. There's stuff in the sky that's watching. And then the cartels have tons of stuff too. I don't know if you've ever noticed, but there's drones around Mount Cristo Rey. And you can see them, and it's the cartels. They'll send up drones to see where the Border Patrol agents are so they could get people through.
Wow. I'm sure all that stuff works. Yeah.
And in the show notes, I'll put links to different people that I follow that I get my information from.
Okay.
Because there's two specifically that all they do is border stuff. And they go to all different types of border cities and they track what's going on. Oh, and children, one last thing that breaks my heart. The cartels, so the reason in the beginning when they were saying that they had kids in cages, do you remember that? So the narrative here was that the government, Trump, was separating families.
Yeah. I remember.
Separating families and putting kids in cages.
Yeah, I remember.
Okay.
And they show the kids like...
Mm-hmm. The reality of the situation, like we've been telling you guys, it's mainly military-age men, young men coming through. There are some women, there are some children. Mm-hmm. So what they're doing with the children, the rule is, and the cartel knows our rules, If you are a family unit, you can get in easier.
Mm.
So that made kids a commodity.
Mm.
So when they steal the kids, they will drug them, they will give them to men, they will have the men walk over with them and pretend that they're their babies. They are not their babies. So when they are separating these kids, the reason that they're getting separated is because they are not family. They can't prove that they're family. They don't know that they're family. These kids were drugged, and you can see just video of babies, just like they can't even hold up their head because they're drugged. It's devastating. Devastating. What happens to those kids? Who's doing what to those kids? They could accidentally overdose them. They don't care. They're just their product. Then they get these men in, they separate them, they never see the kid again. Then the kids get let go, recycled, go back, and get put into the hands of somebody else.
Yeah, because it's easy to get to Mexico. You don't have to even talk to anybody.
No, I accidentally went to Mexico the other day.
Yeah. Like you just go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't need any documentation. No. Now, if you get pulled over, especially if you're far in Mexico, you could get in big trouble. You get stuck in prison if you don't have proper documentation.
Yeah.
For going, I forget what the distance is. I don't know. It's like 10 miles or something into Mexico.
Dang, I didn't know that.
You need a passport. You know what I mean? To get into Mexico. Now, Americans, you can get passport easy to Mexico. Like they're like, yeah, please come. You know what I mean?
Yeah, spend your money.
Like, I'll tell you a funny story. I went one time without a passport in college to Chihuahua, right? And I went with my friend because I went to Sol Ross, and my friend was from Presidio, and OJ. OJ is the bordering city to Presidio.
What's it called?
Ojinaja or something like that. Everybody calls it OJ because I always want to call it like the Asian island. What is it?
Oh, Okinawa.
Yeah, like where Karate Kid's master's from. So we always just call it OJ.
OJ, and then there's J-Town, and then there's TJ. Okay, all right.
And so he was from there, and he was going to school at Sol Ross, which is in Alpine, Texas. That's where I went to school. And he wanted to go party with his friend in Chihuahua. And Chihuahua's huge. This is like this huge city. Yeah. Millions of people. And so we went to this club, and this club in Chihuahua was like, I don't know, 4 stories high. Oh. And then there was a line around the building like this to get in, right? Dang. And my friends were like, oh, no, they're not going to let us in. You know, it's already too late. We're not going to be able to get in or whatever. And it was supposed to be like this coolest club, right? So I'm there talking to my friend. His name's Giovanni. And I was just chatting him up, you know, saying, hey, what's going on with this? What should we do? And he's like my guide. Like I'm this tall white dude in Chihuahua, right? Yeah. And then the doorman hears me from afar, and he goes, ¿Sabes inglés? And I was like, yeah, I speak English. Like, yeah. And he goes, come with me. So he takes me to the front of the line, and he says, go. Like this. And I said,
what about my friends?
I said, what about my friends? And he goes, no. Es mexicanos. Tú estás americano, right? You're American, right? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, ay, pero no quiero los mexicanos. And I was like, what? And then so I went back and I told them, and they were like, well, let me walk with you. So one guy stayed to keep the place, and then he walked over with us. And it was like, and they were talking, and the guy's getting very mad. My friend that lives there, he's very mad. Yeah. He's like, and I'm like, what's going on? Because they're talking way too fast. Yeah. And my friend Giovanni told me, he goes, no, they want to let you in because you're American and you have a lot of money. Yeah. He says, but they don't want to let us in because we're just Mexicans. And I said, tell him that I won't go in unless all my friends come in with me. Yeah.
I mean, duh.
Right? So then they said, okay. So they let my 5 friends in, and we got in, right? And we had to radio the other guy, because in those days you use Nextel. You're like, hey, güey, voy a la fuente, güey. You know, and it was everything was very much like a radio. It was like a,
I remember
Nextel.
That.
Remember that?
I didn't have that, but I remember it. Yeah.
Everybody used that because you could radio back and forth to Mexico and you didn't get charged international rates. But so he came over to the front and then we went in, right?
That's so fun.
And the club was crazy.
Was it good? Was it worth it?
So each level was like a different genre of music.
Cool.
So they had like 70s music, 80s music, 90s music, and then like rap music at the top or whatever. And like the whole decor was crazy. At the top floor, there was like rafters. Like there was a dance floor and there was rafters. Like think of like a high school basketball gym. That's what the top floor looked like.
That's so weird.
It was just rafters of men and women just in rafters watching people dance and stuff.
Were they dancing? Or they just standing?
They were standing there drinking, like in the rafters, right? And I was like, wow, this place is crazy. And
that's crazy.
You know, it was a pretty crazy time. You know, one time maybe we'll do another episode for prepping.
Yes, another episode for prepping.
Yeah, because it's really too far.
The border stuff is that's a lot.
I'll tell you another funny story. I had gotten taken in at the border, and they took me in for questioning.
Or why?
Yeah, so.
Oh shoot.
So my dad had bought me a '92 Buick Century, a white one, right? And Buicks are actually one of my favorite cars.
Really?
Yeah, but my wife won't let me buy them.
Aww.
Right.
No fun.
She's like, I'm not gonna drive in that thing. It's that grandpa car. I was like, girl, this car is legit. And they're very comfortable.
They are.
I love
They're
Buicks.
big boats.
Yeah, I love them.
One of my friends, Will DeBeast, in college, he called her Princess. He was all right, Princess, let's go. And like, start driving.
Yeah, it's always up here.
Yes.
Right. So, well, I bought the car, but he found it for me from one of his friends or whatever. So I buy this. I'm in this car, and I go back to college, and then we're gonna go to OJ to go party because they had a club in OJ.
How close was OJ to you guys?
It's like an hour and a half.
Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah, and OJ was cool, and the people were very different than Juarez people. So they were kind of like a chill town. It's kind of like real Mexico. But they had a really nice club there. Really nice club there. So we were there and partying, whatever, and we partied all night. We drank way too much. And then I'm driving back because I have to go work the next day.
Oh, dang. Yeah.
Right? And I'm super hungover. I haven't showered. I haven't done anything. I'm just driving back.
Nasty.
Sweaty, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's nasty. And I'm driving over and I'm going through the checkpoint and the guy goes, pull over. So it's like every so often they pull a car over and they run the dogs, right? So they pull the car over, they run the dog, they open my trunk, and then the dog alerts in my trunk. Yeah, exactly. So I'm there chatting with the guy, and then the dog alerts to his trunk, and then he grabs my arm and throws it behind my back, and then drags me inside into like a tiny room, right? It's like the little light, like, you know, and and I get interrogated for 3 hours. You know, that's at least it felt like 3 hours.
And nobody knew where you were?
No, I was.
They just had you.
Yeah.
Was it our guys?
Yes.
Okay, because you're coming back.
Yeah, I'm coming back. And they were like asking me like a million questions. Where's the drugs? Why are you doing drugs? Who was you dealing drugs? Where'd you get the drugs? Drugs. And I'm like, dude, I don't do any drugs. Yeah. I've never done any drugs.
Yeah.
And I was like, I just was partying with my friends over here in OJ. And I came back and he's like, well, you know, the dog alerted your truck, you have drugs. And I was like, I don't know. I just got this car. My dad bought it for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so after all of this, they're like, okay, it was just a residue. And then I go back and my car's like tore apart. No. It's all tore apart.
Did it like ruin it?
Nah, well, it was a junky car. You know what I mean? But like, I had to put the seats back inside. They literally took the seats out and everything. Right? And I told them, and they were like, they were saying something like, Like it was a residue. And I was like, well, what do you want me to do? I just bought a used car. What if
Mm-hmm.
somebody had drugs in there before? I don't know.
Yes.
And he goes, well, you might want to like have it checked. Who's gonna check for drugs? Like who has
Yes.
a spare canine
Yeah.
drug sniffing
Yeah.
dog?
Exactly.
Like I was like, it's funny this thing that you never think about.
Yes.
Like you buy a used car, you would think it's gonna be fine, and you drive it over there, you could be arrested because it could have like
Residue.
some drugs in your like I didn't even look into the spare tire area. It could have been something in there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Who really looks into all of that? Yeah.
And how many people buy cars that were like seized, right? From drug stuff, and then they have drugs in like the air vents or something. Like
Yes.
it's possible.
Yeah. My dad bought a used truck from like a shady dude. And he was concerned that it might have drugs in it. And so, but he has law enforcement friends. So he brought the truck to one of his friends, and his friend got a canine to check it out, and it was fine. But those are things you think about when you live on the border.
Yeah, it's funny. I never thought I would be like, and it was like, I was like, man, that was crazy.
Were you afraid?
Not really, because
annoyed.
I didn't do anything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I had like that little bit of self-confidence.
Yeah. Like, dude, I didn't do anything.
You know, like I test my blood.
Yeah.
You know, like have me take a lie detector test. Like I started thinking of like everything I've seen in the movie, right? And they're like, we don't
take a hair follicle.
They're like, we don't do that. I was like, okay. Well.
Okay. Yeah, and you do not mess with Border Patrol too. Like it's.
And there was a guy there, like he was reaming me for like a long time, and I'm like, dude. No, bro, like I don't have any drugs. Like I don't even do drugs. And he's like, why are you lying to me? You know.
Okay.
But that's a funny story that I have, and it's you don't know that you lose all your rights when you cross the border, and you gain your rights once you get past the checkpoint.
Back in. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so at that moment I didn't have any rights. Yeah. You know, I couldn't like to a certain degree, you know what I mean? You lose your rights.
Yeah. Yeah. So Jake's grandma lives on the border she passed away now, but Wilcox, Arizona, which is on the border. And we visited Grandma Williams, and then we went up to somewhere else to visit one of his friends, and then we came back to El Paso. So we hit several check stops. I'm driving. And on our way back to El Paso, Border Patrol not catches us, but we go through a checkpoint. And he's like, where are you guys coming from? And I'm like, oh, Wilcox. Wilcox is like 2 hours away in this direction. And we're coming down here. Like, it's not.
That doesn't make sense.
No. And he looks at me, and Jake's like, no, we're not coming from Wilcox. We're coming from wherever. And then the guy looks at him. He's like, I'm going to need you to pull over. And I'm like, no. And so I told him, I'm sorry. We went to Wilcox to visit his grandma. Then we came up to here to visit his friend. And now we're going back to El Paso because that's where we live. I don't care. You're pulling over. And we had just moved. So I had like a bunch of luggage still in my car. And it took them a while to go through all our stuff. And there was nothing in there. But I was like, damn it. You got to be prepared. You got to be ready when you go through check stops. Say the right city.
And they x-ray your car. So those are the internal checkpoints. So El Paso has like, once you get out of the city limits, you're pretty much just on I-10 or you're on whatever that thing is to go to New Mexico. I forget what road that is. Up there. Is it I-20? I don't know what it is.
I don't know.
And like every time you go to Ruidoso or Cloud Crop, you got to go up that way, right? Yeah. And so there's a checkpoint. If you're going to get far outside of El Paso, you're going to go through another checkpoint.
Yes.
And it's a customs checkpoint. Yeah. And they ask you, you know, you're American or whatever. Did you hear about that guy that, I think it was a girl or a guy that got in trouble because she was an Uber driver. And illegals hired her to give her an Uber drive to like San Antonio. So she goes to freaking through the checkpoint and they're like, are you American? And she's like, yeah. And the other people, they're not American.
Oh, when did this happen?
That happened recently. Yeah. I heard about it.
Oh, I'm sure she didn't realize.
Yeah, well, who thinks about it?
I would never think like, oh, these
if you're
people
an Uber
are illegal.
driver, you know, you got it. Okay, let's go, you know.
Yeah.
That's crazy to think about, huh? You're like, are you an Uber driver? And you're gonna be like, oh, let me see your American passport.
Are you a citizen?
Yeah. You know, like who thinks of these things?
Transporting illegals.
You were transporting illegal, like you literally trafficking illegal people.
You're trafficking humans right now. She's like,
no, look at my app. Yeah.
I swear, I'm an Uber driver.
Like, oh my God.
Wow.
It's okay. I'm an Uber driver. I was like, okay, go ahead.
All right, go away. You're fine.
Like, I'm sure that girl was probably terrified.
For sure.
Yeah,
she didn't know what she was doing.
Girl.
Yeah. No. When I accidentally went to Mexico, we talked about this. I was just happy because I carry. But I was in a fancy outfit for like a Christmas thing. And so I couldn't carry. Mm-hmm. And I'm just so grateful that because I accidentally went to Mexico.
Yeah, a lot of military guys, because El Paso is a military town. Mm-hmm. A lot of military guys accidentally drive to Mexico.
Yeah, and they're not allowed to go.
They're not allowed to go.
They're not allowed to go at all.
Yeah, and they might have their guns in the thing, and that's huge. Like they'll send you in prison.
Yes, huge.
In Mexico, and in Mexico prison, they don't give you food. They don't give you toothbrushes. They don't give you like toothpaste. Like people have to come bring that stuff to you. Oh my God. In Mexico. That's so scary. Like that's the way that it works over there. Yeah. Like you don't like American prisons are so nice, you know, they're like, it's my turn for the TV, you know? And they're like,
yeah.
But over there, unless you're somebody, you know what I mean?
It's so crazy. My last story, I don't know if I said this on the podcast before, but one of my friends was partying with people in Mexico, in Juarez, and he got in their car, and it was like a Hummer, but like a soft top Hummer, which that's not a thing. Like the top is off. It was really, really nice. And he was like, wow, like these people are really rich.
Is it really a Hummer? Like a real Hummer, maybe?
A real Hummer.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, okay, yeah.
Maybe a real Hummer, yeah.
Maybe that's what it was. He just said it was a
rather
really
than an
nice
H2.
Car. Yeah.
It was an H1.
Yeah. So he got in this really nice car with these cool people he's been partying with, and the cops pull him over. And a lot of times you'll just give him a 20, like you were saying, and then like be on your way. Mm-hmm. So the guy that was driving it rolls down his window. 2 cops come around on either side, and the kid is like, "Do you know who I am?" And the cop is like, "Oh shit, who are you?" And then they realize who the kid is. They turn around and run to their cars and drive away. This kid was like a kid of a cartel member. He didn't even know he was partying with cartel kids. And that's so dangerous. Like you could be wrong place, wrong time, a shootout. Like he didn't know. So moral of the story, don't get anybody's car that you don't know.
I'll tell you one last one. My great uncle told me this story. His name Uncle Chewy.
Ah, Chewy.
And he has like a little like a deli over there. They don't call it deli, but they kind of like a carne asada, you know. So he has like the little tube of meat, and they cut it off, and you know make burritos or whatever. And he was driving in Juarez, and this was back during the drug wars.
Okay. Like
so
in
this
the
is
90s?
No, this is like in the 2000s where there was like massive killings because the cartels, like the ownership and who's in charge. So they're fighting for who's going to be in charge. Yeah. And so it was just mass chaos in Juarez. It was crazy. So he was driving over there, and he was at a stoplight behind another car. So then the stoplight turns green, and the car in front of him doesn't go. And, you know, he's already an old man at the time. He's in his 60s or 70s. I don't know how old he was. And because my grandma was the oldest. And he told me the story at my dad's house. And then he just doesn't do anything. He doesn't honk. He doesn't do anything. And then the car in front of him, when the light turns green, 4 guys get out with automatic weapons. Not automatic weapons. Everybody says automatic weapons, but it's
big guns.
Yeah, it's like AKs or ARs or something, M4s, and they come to him and they tell him, we're testing people. If they honk at us, we kill them. And he's like, and then he throws like some pesos inside his car, and then they drive away.
Oh my god.
That's literally what they were doing just for fun, just to mess around with people.
Messing with people and killing them for fun.
Yeah, killing them for fun, you know? And it was funny because the reason he told me the story is he came over to see my dad. And so I saw him. I hadn't seen him in years, right? And I said, hey, and I said, how's it going? And because I know he was in water, so I asked him, I said, how's it going over there? And the whole time he was sitting at my dad's table, he was like on the swivel, right? And I was like, why are you so nervous? And he's like, oh, you know, let me tell you the story. So it like traumatized him.
Well, yeah.
You know what I mean?
We don't think about stuff like that living here. We're so blessed.
Yeah.
So freaking blessed.
That, you know, it's cool too. When I was down there handing out stuff, there was consistently a PD, El Paso PD, in the area. Everywhere we were at, the PD would come by. You guys doing okay? And he would just drive. It was just doing rounds constantly, just doing rounds for that area.
Yeah.
The El Paso PD is probably one of the best police departments in the nation because they had to deal with all the cartel stuff and it didn't spill over, right? They protected us. Like here in El Paso, even with all this going on,
we were safe.
There's no carjackings. There's no muggings. Like, we could walk downtown. You wouldn't be afraid to walk downtown. Maybe with all the migrants.
Now, yes. Because we wanted to go see the Christmas lights downtown. We didn't because it was dangerous.
But normally, without this massive amount of, like, 2 million people, we can walk down any street in El Paso. We can park anywhere. I'm not afraid of carjackings and, like, muggings and, like, kids getting abducted, and like we don't have those problems in our city. El Paso is actually a pretty safe city for the size. We're always like in the top 25 safest cities in the nation. Yeah. With all this craziness across the street. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so
it feels less safe now that the border's open.
Yeah.
Like now that Biden is allowing people to just flood over.
It's insane.
It like, I mean, there was a carjacking. Oh, I don't know if you saw that. 2 Venezuelans stole a Jeep. This was yesterday. Stole a Jeep.
Was it a carjacking or was it just they stole it?
I'll say stole a Jeep.
Okay.
I'll say that. I don't know.
Okay.
But they stole a Jeep and then drove on the freeway
backwards. Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah. Yes. and there was a SWAT situation in the Northeast yesterday also. And they didn't give details. So it's getting dangerous. It doesn't feel good. And growing up the way we did, it was so safe. You know, you still have to be careful, but like you said, there wasn't all that stuff.
Like, look at you 15 and 16-year-olds in waters. You know what I mean?
We were so dumb.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Mom and Dad.
You were like so dumb, like for real.
Like for real. Yeah.
No, I think it's an attest to the police chief and
they're very strong
the
and strict.
ownership.
You know, it's crazy. So one of our friends was EPPD, and he was telling us for the size of our population, we have half of the cops that we need.
Yeah.
We don't even have...
Because El Paso's stupid.
I know. It's so frustrating.
The city council in El Paso is the worst.
It's very dangerous. And when he became PD, he was issued boots with holes.
Oh, my God. How long ago was this?
This was in 2013.
Was that when, like, remember when all the cars were all, like, the paint was all peeling off of them?
Probably.
You remember that?
Yes, I do. It was so embarrassing.
Yeah.
Even with that, so he's issued, so that's just a testament to how great our cops are. Because they care so much. The city doesn't even give them proper boots. He was issued boots with holes, a gun holster that was used and broken. Like, have you ever had a belt where it starts to like break on the sides and like it's only the middle that's hanging on? A holster belt that was broken, and he had to buy his own gun. He had to pay for his own gun.
Gee whiz.
So that was his graduation present, is that we all chipped in. It was $500 for his gun.
Wow.
How? And then with all the things like defund the police, well, they don't even get boots without holes. And you want to take away funding?
Yeah. Well, we didn't have that in El Paso.
We didn't. Well, they tried. Kids tried. Nah, get out of here with that.
Yeah, they're like, no, we got to go to work tomorrow. You know what I mean? El Paso people are not like that. You know what I mean? Yeah. Most of the kids are not as spoiled as you would find in like California or Dallas and stuff. El Paso people are like hardworking people
Yes.
in general.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
100%, yes.
And they're family oriented. We love our families. Like everybody always comes here, oh, there's nothing to do. It's like, yeah, because all we do is hang out with family and have barbecues.
Yeah.
You know, that's what we do.
Yeah. And there is a lot to do. You just don't like keep track of what's going on.
There's a lot to do for kids too.
Yes. And everything's free. Like not like all of the activities.
Mm-hmm.
They're like the downtown parking. I didn't realize how great our downtown was.
Mm-hmm.
So many downtowns have no parking, and if they do, it's $20 like an hour. Like San Antonio was so expensive to park downtown.
Mm-hmm.
There's no bathrooms anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Our San Jacinto Square has like 2 bathrooms.
Mm-hmm.
That's so, and they're nice.
Mm-hmm.
Like El Paso's great. I love it.
Yeah. All right, 915.
915. Are there like hand signs for the 915?
I think the guy does do it. What the guy that plays for the Packers?
Oh,
He does do a 915.
Aaron.
Forget his name.
Yeah.
He's from El Paso.
I think he just does the 915.
Yeah, maybe that's what he does.
Yay.
Yeah, and he makes the sound too.
He clicks it. I don't know why I make sounds. I make my own sound effects.
Yeah,
I'll like pour the girls some.
jukebox?
I am. I'll pour the girls cereal or make them oatmeal and like, here you go.
And they're like, oh, okay,
Thanks,
Mom.
Mom.
That's so funny. All right, guys. Well, if you like this episode and you want to share it with your friends, you know, like and subscribe, comment, let us know if there's any other videos you'd like to do.
Yes.
And we might be doing, I guess the next one, we're going to be doing a prepping one. So let us know if you had any specific questions about that. Yeah. And we'll get into it on the next video. Thank you guys so much.
Yay. Talk to you guys later. Bye.